All right, let's start talking our way through the bell work. What's the first thing I need to know before I can even do any substitution? A, B, and C. GCF is really important if we're factoring. With quadratic formula, you can pull out a GCF if you see one, but it won't change your answer if you pull it out or if you don't pull it out. With factoring, it will absolutely affect your answer. So it's always good to get into that habit of looking for it. Quadratic formula is the only place where it's like, meh, you don't have to take it out. But I'm glad you were looking for that. What are the values we're going to be using for A, B, and C? -6 for A, 11 for B, and 10 for C. So now I'm going to take those pieces and substitute into what? The part under the square root. We're going to find our discriminant first, which I'm going to abbreviate because that's a really long word. B squared minus 4AC. So what are we squaring? 11. Minus 4 times what? -6 and 10. We have to follow order of operations now as we're doing this. Order of operations says what part comes first? Yes, exponent, squaring 11. 11 squared. What does it mean to square something? Times it by itself. What is 11 times 11? So I have 121 minus 4 times -6 times 10. Then we're going to multiply. And how do we multiply things when there's more than one thing going on?
The thing nearest to it.
Yes, the thing nearest to it. We go from left to right across this expression. So we're going to multiply the -4 and the -6 together. And Soraya, you said that gives me what? It is positive 24 because I have a negative times a negative there. Times 10, so I have a positive 240 here. 361. What does that tell me I'm going to find when I substitute into the whole thing? 2 real roots, yes. 2 real solutions, 2 x-intercepts. All right, now I'm going to substitute into the full quadratic formula. Yes. After the negative sign, we substitute in an 11. At the bottom is a -6. What goes under the radical? 361. That's the whole, well, that's one of the whole reasons that we did the discriminant first, so that we can just put in a single number. It's a whole lot easier than trying to deal with all those numbers at once. All right. We need to see if this radical is going to simplify, and I'm going to give you guys a hint. It does. It took me a while to find it. I was pulling my hair out last night doing some guess and check and trying to, this is actually a perfect square. So in my calculator, I can do square root of 361, and I get a whole number. What is the square root of 361? 19. So that means 361 is 19 times 19. Yes. So there's going to be a 19. Will it be under the radical? No. So I have -11 plus or minus 19 all over what? -12. How many answers did we say we were going to find? 2. I only have one horrid looking fraction right here.
You're going to substitute 11 plus 19 over 12, -12, and minus.
That is absolutely correct. We're going to have -11 plus 19 over -12 and -11 minus 19 over negative 12. And we're going to simplify both of these to find our two solutions. What is negative 11 plus 19? 8. So I have 8 over negative 12. Is there anything that'll go into both 8 and 12? 4. So I can reduce this down. 2 over 3, and it's got a negative. You can put the negative out in front. You can put the negative in the numerator. It's usually not customary to put it with the denominator, but it's not wrong, and I wouldn't count it as wrong. As long as you have only one negative sign with your fraction, we're good. A negative fraction needs one negative. It doesn't matter where you put it, top, bottom, or out in front. All right, so let's find our other solution. What is negative 11 minus 19? Negative 30 over negative 12. 6 goes into both of those. Anything else you notice about the top and the bottom? They're both negative. What does that mean then? It's going to become a positive. So I'm going to have positive what? 5 over 2. Which I could write in decimal form if I wanted to. That would be 2.5. I am always fine with fractions. I love it when you guys give me fraction answers. Decimal answers I'll accept if they're pretty. So if it ends on your calculator like 2.75, 5.13, we're good with that. If it's 2.33333, please leave it as a fraction. All right. Do you guys have any questions for me about the bell work? Okay, I want to keep practicing with quadratic formula. We're warmed up with quadratic formula now. Let's do a couple more problems like this, because the homework that's due tomorrow morning is all quadratic formula stuff. Please flip to where we left off yesterday. Page 276. We're about halfway down the page here. Page 276. Again, you will need a calculator. You will need a calculator for problem number 1. So if you don't have one, please come grab one. Yes, ma'am. What is the first thing I need to identify? A, B, and C. What are the A, B, and C values we're using? Yes. A is 2, B is negative 11, and C is 10. Then we're going to find our discriminant so that we know how many and what type of roots we're looking for, and so that the part underneath the radical is just one number. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Let me write quadratic formula up at the top here. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So what are we squaring? Negative 11. What happens when we square a negative number? Why does it become a positive? That's absolutely correct. When we square something, it means to multiply it by itself, and a negative times a negative will give us a positive. So I'm going to have a positive 121 minus, what are we putting in for A? 2 and C? 10. This is looking a lot like the bell work. What do I do next?
You do negative 11 times negative 11, which is then you do 4 times negative 4 times 2, which is negative 8.
Yep. So I have 121 minus 8 times 10. 8 times 10?
8 times 10 is
80. Oops, I put that in the wrong spot. So I have 121 minus 80. 41. What does that tell me?
2 real roots.
2 real roots. And now we can substitute into the full quadratic formula. What's going under the radical?
41.
41 goes under the radical. What goes at the beginning right after the negative sign?
Negative 11.
Negative 11. And what about on the bottom next to the 2? What happens when I have a negative and a negative?
Positive.
Becomes a positive. So I have 11 plus or minus. We'll deal with that 41 in a minute. Down on the bottom, how does that simplify?
4.
4. Square root of 41. I need to know if that breaks down at all. Does 2 go into 41? Does 3 go into 41?
I don't think so. No.
Does 5 go into 41?
No.
7?
Oh,
11?
no.
13? 41 is prime. So what do I do with it if it's prime? Just leave it as it is. This is going to stay square root of 41. We said we were going to get how many answers, though? How do I find those two answers? Huh? It is plus or minus part. So I'm going to split this up into two pieces. One of them 11 plus the square root of 41 over 4. And the other one will be 11 minus the square root of 41 over 4. These are my exact solutions. But I also have absolutely no idea where that is on the number line. So we're going to put this into the calculator. And we're going to get an approximate solution. So here's where you need the calculators. We're going to practice putting this in and finding the approximate solutions. Grab your calculators and find the fraction key. This second column right here, second button down, it says n over d. Push that button for me. Everybody should have their calculators in their hands. I want everybody to practice putting this in. Fraction key. Up in the numerator, what are we putting in? 11 plus. To get the radical, you push that green second key. And then the x squared button. That's what will make the radical pop up. Do you guys see that oval-shaped button? That gray oval-shaped button? Use that to get down into the denominator. What's our denominator? 4. Now we've got it put in just like on here, right? When you hit enter, what happens?
It pops in an error. Oh, no, it switches.
It kind of looks mostly the same, right?
It switches to 41 and then 11.
You forgot to put in the part where you read. Yeah. Okay, so now that you're looking at this on the screen and it doesn't really look any different, do you guys see that white key right above the enter key that has the arrows either way? Push that way. And you should get a decimal now. 4.35. It goes on beyond that, right? But we're just going to round it to 2 decimal places because this is our approximate solution here. So does that mean that the other one is just negative 4.35?
No.
No.
You actually have to do it.
You actually have to put it in.
1.14.
1 point.
Yes.
Oh, I just got rid of it.
That's okay. If you hit second, and this button right here. Nope. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's round it to 15, because it has a 9. If you put 14, I would still count that as right.
1.15.
1.15. If you write 1.14, I'm still going to count that as correct. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Awesome. So these are the approximate solutions. We do the approximate solutions because I know where 4 is on the number line. I know where 1 is on the number line. So now I know about where it's hitting on the x-axis. When I leave it in its exact form, there's no error there at all. I have no idea where it is. Let's practice with number 2. What's the first thing I need to do?
ABC.
ABC. What are ABC?
A is 1, B is 14, C is 40.
A is 1, B is 14, C is 49. No? Okay. And then we're going to find our discriminant. Discriminant is always b squared minus 4ac. What are we squaring then? 14.
And 1, and 45.
Yep. Minus 4 times 1. Nope. But it's a good habit to get in so that every problem is exactly the same over and over and over and over. But we can kind of shortcut on our multiplying, because I know when I do 4 times 1, I'm just going to get 4, right? What is 14 squared?
196.
196. And then this is going to stay a minus. How do I know that's going to stay a minus?
Because negative times are
Yeah, negative times positive numbers stays a negative, and all the numbers after it are positive. 4 times 1 gives me 4. What's 4 times 49?
negative 196.
Yeah, so I'm going to have minus 196. What happens?
Positive.
I get 0.
So you get
One real root. Let's go and find that one real root. So I'm going to substitute into the full quadratic formula. What goes under my radical? 0. What goes after the negative sign at the very beginning? 14, because that's my b value, right? What goes down on the bottom next to the 2? That's where the 1 goes. Always go back to your quadratic formula. This is your map. This shows you where everything goes, right here. All right, so I have negative and then a 14, so that's just going to be negative 14. What's the square root of 0? 0. All over what? 2. We said we were going to get how many answers? 1. But I still have this plus and minus. We can simplify it. What's negative 14 plus 0? What's negative 14 minus 0? Negative 14. If I add 0, if I subtract 0, add nothing, take away nothing.
Just move it, really. You don't have to have it there.
Correct. So how's this going to simplify then?
You can do 5 by 2.
Yep. Negative 14 over 2. What is negative 14 divided by 2? There is my one real solution. Let's go look at number 3. First things I need to find. ABC. What are A, B, and C on number 3? A is 1.
B is negative 2, and C is 10.
Yes. A is 1. B is negative 2. And C is 10. Now that I know what A, B, and C are, what are we doing? Find the discriminant. Soraya, one more time. I just didn't hear you. 4 minus 40, yeah, because we're going to have negative 2 squared, so that's 4, minus 4 times 1 times 10. So, yeah, we do get negative 36. What does that mean? No real roots, 2 imaginary roots. We will be taking out an I. Let's do that. Full quadratic formula now. What goes under my radical? Under the radical. Negative 36. What goes right after the negative sign?
Negative 2.
-2. And down on the bottom? 1.
Doesn't the -2 negative just comprise of just 2?
Yep. So I have x equals 2 plus or minus. I'll deal with that radical in a minute. Down on the bottom? 2. All right, so we've got this square root of -36 here. First thing I want to do is get that negative out of the way. Anytime I have a -1 being multiplied to something under the radical, how does that come out? I. This is I. So I have the square root of 36
So 6.
and then an I. Yes. Why is it 6?
Because 6 times 6 equals 36 is a perfect square.
Yes. 6 times 6 is 36. That's a perfect square. So this comes out as 6
But no radical.
I with no radical. These 3 numbers right here. Is there anything that goes into all 3 of those at the same time? 2 goes into all of them. What's 2 divided by 2? 1. What's 6 divided by 2?
3.
So I have 3i. And 2 divided by 2 again?
1.
If I have a 1 in the denominator, does it have to be there? No. So I have x equals 1 plus or minus 3i. We said we were going to get how many answers? 2 imaginary. I only see one thing right here. Plus or minus. Split it up into your 2 answers. What are my 2 imaginary answers?
1 plus 3i. And 1 minus 3i.
Yes. 1 plus 3i and 1 minus 3i. I would like you guys to do number 4, start to finish, on your own. Do number 4, start to finish, on your own. Yep.
Okay, I didn't know because I knew one of them.
That's okay. Let me see. We are not going to use this page, so you can do work over there. Absolutely. Number 4, start to finish, on your own. If you guys find that you need extra room for things, page 277 we're not going to use, so you can use any open space on page 277 as well. So I know some people are starting to run out of room. How many and what type of roots are there? 1 real root. What are the a, b, and c values?
1, -6, and
A is 1, B is -6, C is 9. So I take -6 and I square it. Oops. -4 times A times C. And I end up with 36 minus 36, which gives me 0. And that's how we knew that it was going to be one real root. So when we substitute into the full quadratic formula,
It's -6 plus or minus square root of 0. And then 2 times 1.
be very careful. The negative that I wrote in black is part of the formula, but our b value is a negative. So it turns positive. So I have x equals 6 plus or minus 0 over 2, which is just the same thing as what? 6 over 2, x equals 3. How you guys feeling about this so far? Pretty good? The more we practice it, that pattern is making more sense. It's the same thing each and every time. Same pattern. Let's go look at number 5. I'm going to let you guys mostly do this one on your own, but there's something right at the beginning that we've got to pay attention to, or else it throws everything else off. Has to be set equal to 0. How do I get it equal to 0? How do I get it to the other side? How would I make it cancel on the right? Minus 7x. Will that combine with anything that's over on the left? No. 2x squared minus 7x plus 8. Take it from here. Everybody should be working on number 5. How many and what type of roots? Yeah, no real roots, 2 imaginary roots, right? What does the discriminant come out to? -15. That's what's going to go underneath the radical.
So I have 7 plus or minus 4 under.
Okay, so I have -7, I have 2, I have 8. So here I get 49. It's going to be 49 minus what?
64.
64. That's how I get that -15. So I know it's 2 imaginary roots. The primary root? Well, that plus or minus there, that's part of the quadratic formula, kind of takes care of things for us with that. But yeah, we do have to watch out for that. Okay, so I'm going to have a -7 here. I'm going to have a 2 here and a -15 under here.
So then that changes into 7.
So I'm going to have a +7 plus or minus, what do I have on the bottom? 4. This square root of -15, can I simplify that at all?
Well, yeah,
You gotta make it positive.
Make it positive by doing what to it? Bring that I out. Now what about the 15? 3 times 5, so no pairs there, right? So it's going to stay square root of 15, but with an I out at the back. I'm going to circle anything that's not under a radical, so I'm not circling the 15. 7 and 4, does anything go into both of those? No. So I can't reduce it at all. I can't do any more with this. I just need my 2 imaginary roots. One of my imaginary roots is going to be 7 plus the square root of 15i over 4. What's the other one?
7 minus 15 under radical I.
Yes, 7 minus radical 15. Make sure the I is not underneath the radical. That I came out from under the radical. Let's do one more and we will call it a day. Number 6. Where do you think I would need to start on number 6? Parentheses. What can I do with them? I'm going to distribute, yes. So I'm going to have 3x squared equals -4x minus 12. Just like number 5, what do I have to watch out for here?
Oh, can you get it to 0?
Need to make it equal to 0.
So we're going to subtract 3x.
I'm going to add the 4x and the 12 to both sides just because I like my a positive. You could subtract the 3x squared to both sides, and that's totally and completely fine. You're going to get the exact same final answer. So that is entirely correct. I'm going to add 4x to both sides, and then I'm going to add 12 to both sides. When we're factoring, we don't ever want our a value to be negative, but with quadratic formula, it does not matter. So what are my a, b, and c?
Negative 3x squared is a, negative 4x is b.
Positive.
Oh, 4.
Yep, because we added it to both sides.
And then positive 12 is c.
Absolutely. All right, so let's do our discriminant then. So I'm going to be squaring what?
4.
Squaring the 4. What is 4 squared?
16.
16 minus 4 times 3 times, what's 4 times 3?
12.
So I'm going to have 12 times 12.
Wait, negative.
You get negative 1/3.
Yeah, sorry. I brought my negative sign down. I apologize. You're right. I should have said negative there. What is 16 minus 144? Negative 128. So tell me about my roots.
2 imaginary.
two imaginary roots. All right, x equals negative plus or minus radical. What goes right after the negative sign?
B.
Which is? 4. What goes under the radical? Negative 128. And what goes down on the bottom next to the 2? 3. So I have x equals, this will be negative 4 plus or minus, I'll do that 128 here in a second. What's on the bottom? 6. Can I break down square root of 128, or negative 128? Yep, bring that I out first. Will anything go into 128? What goes into 128? 2. 2 times what? 64. Ooh.
Quick math.
What do you know about 64? It's a perfect square. It's what times what? 8 times 8. So what am I going to have then?
8 on the outside and then 2. And then I.
Yep, 8 square root of 2i. Circle all the numbers that are not under a radical. Will anything go into all 3 of those? 2. You guys have quadratic formula homework that is due tomorrow morning. Please finish that up tonight. You guys are definitely doing great with this. Practice that. Show me what you can do. I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of their day. I will see you guys tomorrow. We will bring everything that we've learned together tomorrow.
I have a question.
No, you didn't talk.
Synthetic, like division.